Hi everyone. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I'm a little bit nervous. I don't like being on this side of the camera. I've tried to find good lighting. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone for the amazing amounts of support. I did not expect the ounces and ounces of you guys to join just from me posting my recipes in the forum on Facebook and sharing like on my normal Instagram. I'm a little bit shell-shocked. I didn't expect to have this sort of outcome. In probably 36 to 48 hours at the most, I've gone from having about 12 followers to 130 odd. So it's just absolutely amazing. For those of you that don't know me, which is going to be most of you, hi Mum, hi Jodes, hi Beck, thank you for tuning in. My name is Hayley. I'm from Perth in Western Australia. I am 25 years old in September this year. I'm going to start with the annoying, crappy things first because I feel like I like ending on a positive. So I was a personal trainer when I left school, and that was probably maybe like 9 years ago now, so a little while ago. I had my fair share of injuries, a lot of big ones, things that stopped me from doing things that I loved doing. I guess I kind of just became a little bit lazy once the doctor told me that I could train again and everything was fine. I just had so many issues with like my knees and my ankles, and I just never felt confident enough to put pressure on them again. I put on a lot of weight really, really quickly. Like I think I went from about 68 odd kilos as a personal trainer to about 90 odd kilos. And this was by the time I was probably 19 or 20. Just let me know if you can't hear me or if it's muffled or whatever, because I have no idea. Basically, I left school to become a personal trainer because I loved everything about fitness, and when I lived with my mum, I would train early in the morning and I would go to work and I'd train again on the way home, and then I'd come home and like help mum do mum things, and like it was fantastic. And to get back to that for me would be an absolutely huge motivation, like to be able to even just go back to the gym and feel comfortable about it and be able to carry myself would be absolutely amazing. Basically this year I went to Europe with my best friend Jodes. Thanks, Jodes. We went for 5 weeks together and it was absolutely incredible. I know by the end of it I started to get really tired trying to carry myself. I was at my heaviest then, so I was probably maybe like 113 or so kilos before I left, and then when I came back I'd actually lost a couple of kilos, and it was obviously from all the walking. I didn't have any like belly pains and stuff because the food was just so different. There wasn't very many days at all where I complained much about my belly or how I felt. Basically I came back from Europe, and I'm not going to say like it changed my life or anything, but it definitely opened up my eyes to how much better things could have been for me. I know it was really hard for Jodes, you know, days when we went to places like Pompeii and we walked for like 4 hours, and I was so surprised that I could actually even keep up, but definitely towards the end, like I stood there, my legs were shaking, and I was like, Jodes, I'm not gonna fucking walk up those stairs. Sorry, I am a potty mouth as well. I will try and keep it on the down low. Basically, I came back and I decided that I didn't want to be like this anymore, but I kept putting it on the back burner like I always do. I'm very honest. And I had a few kidney issues back when I turned 22, so it's about 3 years ago now, and I'm penicillin anaphylactic for it, so I get a groovy bracelet. Basically every 6 months I have my blood tests done for my kidneys just to make sure everything's going okay. My levels have been fine ever since, touch wood. But then this year I noticed that he was asking me to go back a lot more frequent, and I was kind of like, he's not calling me when I have them done to say anything's wrong, but he's getting me to have them more frequent than normal, and it was kind of freaking me out a bit. And I think because I ended up training at the same gym as him for a long time as well, I kind of became more friends with him than my doctor, and I think he was a bit scared to tell me the things that I needed to hear. And so in end of May, beginning of June this year, I went and seen him for another checkup because I wasn't well again. For the last 18 months, I've been complaining about nothing but inflammation in my stomach. I was just getting fatter and fatter around my belly, and it was really, really scaring me. But same thing, I just wouldn't do anything about it. So I went and had my appointment with him the first week of June and had some more blood tests done, and my cholesterol's like slightly raised, but for the size that I was and still am, like I'm not super skinny yet, he said like everything on the inside was pretty healthy, but if I didn't get on top of it, like my kidneys were just going to not be able to hold up. And then he kind of came to the big crunch and was like, I know that BMI doesn't really matter, but I am your doctor and I have to be honest. And unfortunately, as far as it goes, you are in the obese category too. And at first I was like, it's just a number. It's just a BMI. Like no one even cares about that anymore. But to be classed as obese category 2 at the age of 24, not even 25 yet, knowing that I want to have kids, that I have a huge life ahead of me, you know, I want to be fit, I want to be active, I want to be able to chase my kids around and my grandkids for that fact whenever that happens. I'm a bit of a forward planner. It did scare me. But I came home and, you know, I told him everything was fine and whatnot. And then I started talking to my 2 best friends and my sister-in-law and my mum, and I was like, I think I'm going to go vegetarian. I was like, I need to do something. I just literally was looking for something quick to help me just start getting rid of the weight, because I was like, he's going to keep checking on me. If he doesn't see any improvements, it's just going to go downhill from there and I'm just not going to get anywhere. And I was like, I need to put myself first. And it took me a long time, but within a matter of weeks, it was like something changed. And if I keep looking away, it's just because I have notes that I printed out from questions you guys have asked. But basically it was literally that I woke up one morning and I was like, you know what, like, I just can't see this being the rest of my life. Like, I don't want this to keep happening. I don't want to wake up feeling sick every single day. I don't want to keep doing this, because if I do, I've just got to accept that I'm going to be highly obese for the rest of my life. And that's not exactly fun. It's pretty upsetting. So I spoke to my partner and I spoke to my mum and my dad and I spoke to my mother-in-law, and basically they're my biggest advocates. Like, they're the only ones that can, you know, really tell me what I am and like aren't capable of. But at the same time, I was relying on my best friends as well, and one of my best friends was leaving for a 50-day trip around Australia at this exact time, so I couldn't really rely on her to keep me going. But Jodie actually has Crohn's disease, and to see her changing her body so that she can live a better life, and she still struggles day in and day out, and I'm thinking, you know what, like, I have the ability to work out, I have the ability to eat healthy, and she was giving me tips and everyone else was giving me tips, but I couldn't get my head and my heart to do the same thing. And to make it work, I had to do it. I couldn't listen to everyone else. I couldn't do what they wanted me to do, because it just wasn't going to work. It wouldn't stick. And so basically, you know, I went from basically having kidney issues and having blood tests all the time. I ate takeaway like every other person, but I still ate fruit and vegetable as well. I didn't not eat healthy foods. But basically my protein levels were super low. Basically Dr. Ross started clicking on, and he thought maybe I wasn't eating enough, and judging by the levels of my protein and my cholesterol, he said he thinks that my body was hoarding the fat, thinking that I was trying to starve myself. Now, if you say that to someone in my position, they instantly think, why the fuck aren't I skinny? If my body thinks I'm starving itself, then why aren't I skinny? And unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. It does not work at all. Your body needs things like fats and proteins and carbohydrates and stuff to fuel your body. Basically, you don't put shit fuel in your car, or you put diesel in a petrol car, because it's going to break down. And that's what was happening to me. I was breaking down from the inside out. You know, I felt rude going to friends' house and being like, I don't want to eat takeaway. I felt rude going to my mum's house and being like, Mum, I don't want to eat your pasta, because I did want to eat all those things. I wasn't eating something that I wasn't supposed to because someone was telling me not to do it. I was eating it because I wanted to. So I can't blame anyone else at all. Anyway, so that's when Changing Habits came around. I'd heard of lots of programs like this before. My best friend Nicole had done one, and, you know, she lost like almost 20 kilos. This is before I met her. And so she was like, you know, you got to do it. And I remember speaking to her lady, but she just wasn't very supportive, and she didn't really give me the time that I needed. So I just was like, you know what, I can't be bothered. I'm not going to bother with it. And so when my doctor recommended Changing Habits, and then my mother-in-law had done it as well, because she's got mactogen, so she wanted to try and detox her body. She doesn't really need to lose weight, but it just kind of helped. I guess like instantly I was like, no, it's too hard. I was like, it's way too hard, because I've seen her do it before and she couldn't eat the things that we were eating. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But I guess then I had to sit back and think, like, what's actually wrong with my body? Like, why is my body doing the things that it's doing? Why is it playing up? Why am I waking up every single morning with a bloated stomach and cramps in my belly when I haven't eaten anything since the night before? Or, you know, I've been drinking things and drinking water and whatnot and having green tea and all that, but obviously it wasn't doing anything for me. And so when Dr. Ross recommended it, of course I found every single excuse under the sun. I'm going to Brisbane soon for work. It's going to be too hard. I'm staying in a hotel. You know, I'm staying with Tim's cousin for a little while, but it's just going to be too hard. I don't want to get in the way. Then when I get back, I'm going to Melbourne to see Beck, you know, for an actual holiday, and I'm going with Tim, and it's our first proper holiday together in almost 2 years. And basically, if I started now, it was going to interrupt me and I was going to fail. And that's all I had in my head. And I did a lot of meditation. I tried to get my head in a really good space because I didn't want to start this program with those excuses on the back burner. After suffering for almost 18 months with unknown causes to bloating and cramping and joint pain and just basically everything under the sun, like days where I couldn't go to work because my back was so sore, and seeing my best friend go through that because she has an actual disease, like she has Crohn's disease. But for me, it was because I was carrying too much weight, and then I couldn't sleep properly, and then I just would wake up and be like, I just can't do it today. I can't carry myself. You know, and little did I know at this point that within only a few days of starting this program, I would be completely bloat-free, completely cramp-free, like just absolutely nothing. And mark my words, it happened. I remember when my package arrived, I was so excited, and I sat there and I opened it, and I remember one lady on the forum saying to me, now, don't start the program until you've read the book at least once. And it's not a big book, it's like A5, you know, probably maybe 100 odd pages or something. You know, and I was like, oh, I don't want to read the book, like I just want to get started. But reading the book clicked a lot of things in my head, and at the same time I was like, oh, okay, like this actually does make sense. I'm glad I read the book, because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Basically, I read the book that Cindy O'Meara, she actually made the program. She's the doctor. And I remember reading into it, and then reading into her and seeing what she was all about and going, wow, it really makes sense. Like back in the days when we lived in the bush, not us, but our relatives, ancestors, whatever, lived in the bush, and all they ate was like meat and vegetables and fruit. And there's no cases or remarks of any of them ever being overweight because they fat loaded in the winter. So then when, you know, or the other way around, you know what I'm trying to say? They fat loaded in the season before they hibernated, so that when they were hibernating and they had like minuscule amounts of food, they were, you know, using the fat stores in their body as well as eating the food, and they never really went hungry. So it made sense. Now, a lot of people, one of the biggest questions that I have here is, do you take diet pills or do you do diet shakes? No. Basically, this is a HCG diet. Now, HCG is a type of, I hope I get this right, so anyone correct me if I'm wrong, but basically we take hormone balancing drops every single day. They mimic the hormone that's in your body that burns all the fat that is stored in the parts of your body where you don't actually need it. So these drops literally just help to kind of move that along, push it into the bloodstream, and teach the body to use the fat as fuel. So you still eat food, you still do everything else, but you don't physically eat fats or oils because you're trying to teach your body to use the fats that are stored in the parts of the body. So at first I was like, haha, let's see how this is going to work. And then basically from there I was like, I'm probably going to starve, I'll probably die, whatever. You know, so you think about the fact of consuming 500 calories a day doesn't sound like a lot at all. It's like, you know, 2 meals and a couple of bits of fruit. But to put it into perspective, I'll give you a rundown of what my diet used to look like. So a normal day for me would be, I would get up, I'd get myself ready for work, grab my bag, run out the door. I'd get to work, In winter, sometimes I would get a hot chocolate on the way to work, but I'd basically end up crapping myself by the time I walked in the door. Sorry, but it's true. So I, would do that every now and again. I might get Macca's on the way to work, or just most days I didn't eat anything. Then it would hit like 3 o'clock, my lips would be super dry, my breath would stink, and I'd feel so ill because I was like, wow, I'm really hungry and I'm really thirsty. So I'd have food that I'd bought from home, which would have been like a pasta dish or a rice dish that I'd made on the weekend to last me for lunches throughout the week. But while there was veggies and stuff in there might not have been a lot of things that I should have been having that I wasn't, plus it was backed up with carbs, so it wasn't really the greatest, but in my eyes I wasn't buying takeaway. So I would do that, then I would finish work and I would come home and I would either cook dinner or I would have the same thing that I had but reheat another container to have for dinner, so I'm eating the same thing anyway, so twice as much carbs. And then after that I'd probably, maybe have a drink of water, first drink of water for the day. And then if I had any snacks in the house, I'd probably eat a bit of chocolate or whatever. Didn't really buy them a lot, but there was days where I'd get off the train and go, I'm going to IGA, I'm buying a bag of chips, a block of chocolate and some lollies, and I'm going to eat my dinner and then I'm going to devour the whole lot. So I'd make myself like creamy pasta, have a can of Coke, and then literally go and eat all these snacks as well. And that could happen sometimes up to 2 times a week. So basically I was eating like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands and millions of calories. Not exactly, but it got to the point where I would wake up the next day and feel hungry. Like I would be so hungry because my body had no nutrients. And also because my body was super dehydrated. So I'd go for about 3 or 4 days without any water. And then everyone would say, so what were you drinking if you weren't drinking water? Well, I don't drink coffee. I don't really drink tea. I'm not into Red Bulls and stuff like that, like maybe once a year or on the odd bender when I go out with the girls and drink vodka and Red Bulls. And that was about it. So it would literally be nothing. I might have a glass of juice at home or, I might get a chocolate milk one day or something like that, but I didn't do it religiously. I didn't go and buy all those sorts of things, but I did eat shit food just like every other human being because, well, that's what we think is normal, like a balanced diet of I can have takeaway every now and again, it's not going to kill me. Well, it almost fucking killed me, so here I am. Basically that's sort of like that. So no tablets, no shakes, no gimmicks, like nothing like that. I have a few supplements that I use. So I have a greens powder, camu, which I believe is a really dense type of vitamin C, so like a really, really great source. A natural probiotic, so not in capsules, it's literally a tub of live probiotic. I use pink Himalayan salt in everything that's laced with seaweed. So it sounds like a drug, but it's not. It's just got seaweed in it. And colloidal minerals. So I literally get up in the morning. I cut up about 4 kilos of oranges into little quarters and peel them and put them in this huge container. And I get up in the morning and I have my NutriBullet cup and I put 4 bits of orange, the greens, all the minerals and stuff. And then I literally NutriBullet blender thingy with a cup of water in it, and so I drink that while I'm on the train and that wakes me up. I also take my drops as soon as I wake up as well, and then probably 2 hours later I have a serve of fruit, and then maybe 2 hours after that again I go on my lunch break, and I'll have whatever food I've prepped for that day, so protein and vegetables with whatever free foods I have, so tomatoes, lettuce, onions, whatever, and then I have been missing my afternoon piece of fruit because it's not necessary, and I don't think that I need 3 pieces of fruit a day, but it's good to know that it is there on those days where I feel super stressed and I'm just hungry and I just can't make it home on time to eat dinner. I also work shift work, so that's a little bit hard as well. So like this week I'm on earlies, so I get up, I have my drops, I make my smoothie, go to the train station, drink my smoothie on the way to work, have a bit of fruit about 10 o'clock, have my lunch about 2:30 sometimes. Seems like a big gap, but I cut the fruit up so I actually eat it over like an hour. And then I'm drinking like 2 to 3 litres of water minimum a day in there. And then I would come home, have my dinner at home with Tim if he's home. He's FIFO as well, so that gets a little bit easier sometimes when I don't have to worry about his dinner. And then I basically, as I'm cooking my dinner, prep my meal for the next day as well. So I end up with, more and more food as I go along. When I'm on lates, I change it up a little bit. So I get up, I have my drops, I drink my smoothie on the way to work, and then I get to work about 10:30, and I actually have my first meal of the day. So I'll have my protein and vegetables with salad or whatever I end up having with it, or just the meat and vegetable sometimes if I don't feel that hungry. So that's my first lot of protein done. And then probably a couple of hours later, I'll have a serve of fruit. And then I will go on my lunch break, but I won't actually physically eat my food because it's still quite early in the afternoon. So then at 5:30 p.m, I'll run downstairs, heat my food up, eat it, and then I literally finish my work. I go home. I get home by like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then I can shower and go straight to bed, because if I ate at that time at night, I just don't think that it would work. So I've made the effort to change around what I needed to. The coach on my forum as well, she's absolutely fantastic. So she gave me this idea and it worked. It worked really well. So that's basically that. So I went from not drinking water for 3 or 4 days at a time to drinking up to 3 litres a day now. There's still days where I only have like 1.5 litres or 2 litres, but then I'm like, oh, it's more than I used to drink, but I still need to get into the mentality of drink as much as I can. Basically, I'm at day 42 of phase 2, which is the phase where you've completely eliminated everything from your diet. You're literally eating meat, allowed proteins, allowed vegetables. You've got free foods as well. Lots of different bits and pieces. It's actually really interesting. And one of the reasons I decided to open up my blog publicly was because the amount of influx I get from being on the Changing Habits forum is just ladies, like every morning I wake up to about 4 or 5 inboxes and about 20 different comments on Facebook going, what's the recipe? How do you make this? Oh my God, what's that? Rah, rah, rah. And like, I literally just spoke to my dad on the phone and I was like, how did I get to this point? Like, how did I get to the point where I had enough motivation, drive, and mind power to get myself to be better, but inspiring other people at the same time and kind of like leading a troop? Like, it's an incredible feeling. And even if no one was sitting here watching tonight, I would just be like, you know what? The fact that someone might see it over 24 hours, and if I can give one person an idea or make one person feel better about themselves for wanting to do something better, then that's awesome. That's all I want. So 42 days, I've not had anything packaged unless it was organic. So I can have things like organic tomatoes. It's literally just tomatoes and salt, or tomatoes and basil in a jar. Makes it easier. Little bit more expensive, but to not wake up and feel sick the next day from having proper pasta, meat, dill, whatever I make, like it's pretty incredible. Nothing processed, nothing refined, anything that has added sugar in it, unless it's like literally fruit's the only sugar that I've been having. Basically complete detox for 42 days. And after 42 days, like, my skin's still freaking out and doing something weird. And for everyone that knows me knows that, like, I literally always had the clearest skin. So for this to be happening to me, I'm like, wow, my body's really changing. Hi, Joss. I just, it's the amount of fluid that my body must have been holding to lose 12.3 kilos in, 45 days in total is just, it's absolutely phenomenal. And the hard part for me to open this up, because this is my safe haven, is that when you say that to people, the first thing that you get is, oh, but how maintainable is it? Like, how are you going to sustain this? And I'm like, okay, well, let me finish my story. I'm about to move into phase 3. So tomorrow is my last day on phase 2. So I still take my drops, I still have my minerals every morning, and I'll probably do that for the rest of my life because it gives me that green kick that I don't get from many other things, and it makes me feel good. It gives me a lot of energy. But basically tomorrow's my last day on phase 2. So on Friday I'll move to phase 3. Phase 3 only goes for 3 days. So it literally will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it's eating the same foods that I'm eating now in the same quantities. I'm a fidgeter, by the way, if I keep moving, I'm sorry. And I just don't take the drops anymore. So I'm weaning off the drops. So here comes like the big shabam. This is about maintenance. It's about maintaining how far you've come and not going, fuck, I didn't lose the 40 kilos doing this program. It's a ripoff. It doesn't work. Well, no, because if you want that to happen, you go and do like one of those little lemon detox things and you'll lose 40 kilos in like a month because you've literally had lemon and maple syrup for 40 days. And the second that you go and put something in your mouth and start eating, you're literally just going to blow up again. And I've done that. I've been that person. I have paid for shakes. I've paid for pills. I have done gimmicks. I have yo-yoed. I have been from here to there. And it's not fun. So for me to do this has been incredible. Like, it's just, I'm still so shocked. I just can't believe that I'm sitting here having this conversation because it's absolutely crazy. I tried a few years ago to get nutrition help. Basically, I just couldn't do it. I'd go through this phase, and it didn't matter who was my trainer, or, you know, like my sister-in-law was my nutritionist, and what she was doing for me was fantastic, but it just didn't work for me. It wasn't sustainable for me, even though the foods and the diet program was sustainable. I didn't enjoy it. I just didn't enjoy it. And I kept saying that to her, like, I'm letting her down because I'm not making it work. But Jodes did a program from her, and Jodes lost like 9 kilos, and her Crohn's has started to come into remission, and that's fantastic. But for someone that carries a lot of weight, I need to have variety. I needed to completely get rid of all the oils, all the fats, you know, all the glutinous stuff, anything starchy, anything refined, completely detox my body and cleanse my palate to start again. You know, and basically, one thing that was said to me was, if I don't stop now and get myself better, being at 50% body fat, I wouldn't be able to conceive a child. And you know, I say that to people and go, you know, this is what was said to me, and it's burned into my head. It is burned into my head like branding a baby cow. Like, and it will always be stuck there, that I put my poor body in that predicament. But unfortunately, it was what it was, and I tried. And so when this thing got said to me, you'd think, oh, that's enough to wake anyone up. It still didn't. Not the fact that I wouldn't be able to make babies, procreate, trying to be professional, with Tim when you know, that time came. Just the fact that, like, oh no, you're just trying to scare me. I felt like that's the only reason why it was said, was I was like, just trying to scare me into it, you know? I need to be in the right place for it. At the same time, there was friends around me, people that I knew that were, you know, overweight and conceiving children left, right and centre and whatnot, and I was just like, it's just bullshit, like, it's not true. But now when I look at it, I'm like, half of me was 50% body fat. And when I used to tell people how much I weighed, they do this. Sorry, did you say 112 kilos? Yeah. They're like, no. I'm like, haha, you're too kind. They're like, no, seriously, where the fuck is it all? Because, like, I'm quite tall. I'm 169 centimetres, so I'm not short. I'm short next to Tim because he's 6'4", but anyone's short next to him. Basically, I obviously was carrying my weight quite well, point where, it started to hang around my organs at the front, you know, and I started getting a belly, and I never had a belly. So I was like, okay, this is really wrong. Like, maybe I really do need to do something. So that's where it all started from. The whole not having kids thing, it did still scare me. And even still now, I'm like, I want to be healthy. I want to be a good mum. I want to fuel my body with the right things. And, you know, that's what it's there for. Your body is your temple. No, I'm not one of those preachers, I promise. But it is. Like, you have to fuel your body with good things. So that's fine. Basically, I went through a period of probably 12 to 16 months where I suffered from the worst anxiety. Like, I literally was just, I had to rehome my dog. He was a Great Dane. If he was here now, he'd be standing up here over the top of me. You know, and he was amazing, but the neighbours gave us absolute havoc, and he was a big boy, and he got walked twice a day and had toys coming out of his ass, but he just didn't shut up. Like me, didn't shut up. He was definitely my dog. Only I can admit that, by the way. So that was really hard to deal with. And then I had a really beautiful car, I had a great job, and I still have an amazing job. Like, I've changed careers and everything like that. But I was a little bit naughty, and I got way too many speeding fines, and I had to apply for double or nothing. So that meant giving up my car. And I got a brand new car in return and bought like an SUV and became like a soccer mum. But I wasn't happy. It wasn't what I wanted. I worked hard for my things, and people always said to me, oh, you're so lucky you go on holidays all the time. I'm like, yeah, I'm a hairdresser. I need to go on holidays all the time. But no, it wasn't that. I believe in, like, I don't live to work. I work so that I can live and do the things that I want to do. And that, unfortunately, includes traveling. I don't think that it's unfortunate, but the amount of people that say to me, like, oh, like, you travel all the time, like, it's a bad thing. Like, who would even complain about that? Now I work in travel, so I'm a total advocate for traveling. You should do it if you don't travel. Come see me. But basically, you know, I'd go on these holidays and I'd be an absolute spirit animal, and I'd get into the culture of things and, you know, whatnot. And then I'd see the photos when I'd come home and be like, oh, that's fucking disgusting. Like, who would even take photos of that? And it would absolutely just bring me down, and I'm like, nah, it's just not right. You know, so it does. It gets hard. It's all in your head, basically. And I still have issues every single day with the whole anxiety thing. Like, I was in Bali just recently with Tim in November, and he had to leave a couple of days early to go to Brisbane for Apprentice of the Year awards, and I stayed in Bali with Beck, my sister-in-law, and her partner Brendan, which is Tim's brother. And basically the day that Tim left, I hate bees. Jodes, if you're listening, just tell him. No, seriously, I hate bees. Like, it's my one fear. I just hate them. I'm sorry, but I do. And I almost knocked myself out on New Year's Eve 2 years ago because a bee was chasing me and I ran headfirst into Tim's elbow and I dropped to the floor like a bag of shit and almost knocked myself out. It was funny now, but it wasn't at the time. Plus, his bee was huge. Thanks, Jodes. But basically in Bali, this bee, like the bees over there don't even sting you. Like, they're literally like this big and they just fucking fly around. But I was tired because Tim was I'd been up late. Tim was leaving. I was like an anxious mess the night before, saying to him I didn't want him to leave. He's gonna fly by himself, and he's like, yeah, I fly by myself like every second week for work. But basically I went to get in the car and this bee was just flying around my face, and I have a little clutch bag that I travel with that has a metal chain on it, and I was like using it to swing to get this bee. And I like scratched the driver's car, poor Justin. It wasn't even bad, but still I hit his car with the chain and I just lost the plot and I almost threw up because I was coughing and I'd been sick. And I literally just had this huge anxiety attack. And then so the whole drive to Uluwatu, everyone was just super silent. And then Tim